President Trump announced the seizure on Truth Social, saying the Iranian crew refused to listen, so our Navy ship stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in the engine room. Right now, U.S. Marines have custody of the vessel. The ship remains in U.S. custody.
Vacate your engine room. Vacate your engine room. We're prepared to subject you to disabling fire.
I spoke with President Trump over the weekend, who told me if the deal isn't done, the deal that we made, then I'm going to take out their bridges and their power plants. He went on to say if they don't sign this thing, the whole country is going to get blown up.
Iran appears to be unlikely to sign this thing, as Trump is demanding, and that's a big problem because the 2-week ceasefire between the United States and Iran is about to expire in just a few days. And based on the latest developments over the weekend, we're likely to jump right back into war. At least that's my read. Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so we were not sure about this last week, and Anna and I had slightly different opinions. And I'm in the same place this week. So I'm going to show you the structure of a deal that could be had, and that exists right now. And we can get that deal as early as tomorrow if both sides actually want to do it. And then I'm going to tell you what I think is more likely. And again, I'm not entirely sure, which is rare, but because of 2 super important factors here that are colliding.
I can't tell if it's your signature optimism that's making you think that peace is a possibility, or if you're just wrong. But I totally disagree with you. I think we're gonna jump right back into war. But let me give you the details and you guys can decide for yourselves, because we might have completely different interpretations of what's going on. So as you just saw from Fox News's Trey Yingst, the United States did seize an Iranian vessel over the weekend. So how the hell did we get here? Well, it turns out that on Friday, if those of you who are paying attention can remember, Iran had announced that the Strait of Hormuz would be opened for the remainder of the ceasefire for the free flow of oil, natural gas, cargo, you get the picture. But then President Trump announced that he would be maintaining the US blockade on all vessels traveling to and from Iranian ports. Iran saw that as a violation of the ceasefire because it's considered an act of war, which is why immediately after that, Iran decided to close the Strait of Hormuz again. Now, then Iran ended up shooting at 2 Indian flagged vessels to enforce their closure of the Strait of Hormuz, even though India had purchased oil from Iran. So they were kind of, they're making a point, but at the same time, they're the ones who sold the oil to India, so it was kind of a mess. Fox News' Trey Yingst also reports that at least 24 other vessels were turned around by the United States over the weekend, which is why, if you pay attention to the oil markets, the price of oil spiked yet again. Now, Trump also escalated his unhinged threats regarding Iran's civilian infrastructure over the weekend. Here's a little taste of that.
I just spoke with President Trump for about 20 minutes, and he told me if Iran does not sign this deal, the whole country is getting blown up. He went on to say that bridges and power plants will be targeted if Iran does not sign this agreement. The president telling me that US Special Envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are heading to Islamabad, Pakistan for meetings on Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday, to try and get this agreement across the finish line. The president telling Fox News this is a very simple deal, but this is the last chance for the Iranians.
Now, part of the problem is both sides are digging their heels in what they're demanding, and they're refusing to move off of it entirely. So when it comes to Iran, they are unwilling to give up their uranium enrichment. At the same time, Trump is demanding 0 uranium enrichment, even including enrichment for energy needs or for medical needs. So with 2 sides having their heels dug in on what they're demanding, it seems unlikely that a deal is gonna be signed anytime soon. However, even though this conflict with Iran seems to have escalated over the weekend, President Trump told Fox News's Maria Bartiromo that a deal with Iran would be signed in Islamabad today. Today's almost over, but here's Maria Bartiromo sharing her own skepticism.
US officials are gearing up for another round of talks in Pakistan tonight. The Iranians, however, still no response on this meeting. The state media is suggesting that Iran might not show up, although AP reported this morning that the meeting is on, and President Trump told me yesterday a deal will be signed tonight. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
I think part of the problem is that President Trump doesn't understand Iran's culture or the fact that these threats have no impact on Iran, right? They remain unmoved in the face of Trump's ridiculous, unhinged threats, especially the threats toward its civilians and civilian infrastructure. One more quote from Axios. So apparently an anonymous administration official told the reporters over at Axios, and it's Axios, so take it with a grain of salt, quote, "He's over it," meaning Trump. He wants it done. He doesn't like Iran holding its control of the Strait over the Middle East. He doesn't like them holding this over our heads. He doesn't want to fight anymore, but he will if he feels he has to. Now, Iran is unwilling to give up control of the Strait of Hormuz. There is no real military option in taking control away from the Iranians. So Cenk, tell me why you think that there's still a possibility for peace.
Okay, so first, one of our members on TYT.com, Panic on Funkatron, already fun, says, I think Anna's correct. We've never seen Trump stand up to Israel. So you haven't even heard what I said yet. Hold on.
You're wrong, Cenk.
And no, I don't think that, I'm sure Trump's gonna get a deal done. In fact, earlier today, I was on with Mario Nafal, who's one of the larger shows on X, and I played the opposite role. He was saying a deal is definitely going to get done, and I was saying, I don't know about that. Right before I launched TYT, the doubt was real. What if nobody watches? What if it doesn't work out? I got past those initial hurdles, but when we launched our Shop TYT store, the doubts came back. What if people don't like the designs? What if nobody buys anything? Making those leaps of faith was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And it helps when you've got a partner like Shopify on your side. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from big names to brands just getting started. You get hundreds of ready-to-use templates to build a beautiful online store that matches your style. They make it easy to change your online store so you can feature new designs. And Shopify's AI tools write product descriptions, headlines, and even enhance your photos. Plus, their purple Shop Pay button, it has the best converting checkout on the planet. Fewer cart abandonments mean more sales for you. Everything from inventory to shipping to returns, all in one place. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT. So now, why do I think a deal can get done? Because the structure of a deal already exists. Iran, according to sources about what's happened in negotiations so far, has said that they are willing to take enrichment out of the country. And there's negotiations over how long. Is it 2 years, 5 years, 15 years? But hey, we're haggling there. As long as they said yes to being able to take it out, that's really the key. Because it's just a matter of optics anyway, so that Trump can say, I got the enrichment out of the country. So it doesn't much matter if it's 5 or 15 years. So that a deal can be done on the Iranian side. That's great news. And apparently we have conceded that we might unfreeze some assets, including $20 billion that they have that we've frozen. Now, that's no skin off of our behind because it's actually their money that we froze. And by the way, if they did that deal, it would be nearly identical to the Obama deal that Trump got us out of in the first term, causing these cascading dominoes in the first place. So that's the core of a deal that can get done. So if Trump is really in a cold sweat panic, as the mainstream media is describing it, and he's wants to desperately get out of this because he's stuck in this quagmire he doesn't want to be in, and his ratings have plummeted, his legacy's in a lot of trouble. And by the way, if he was a rational actor not tied to Israel, that's exactly what he would do. That's right? He would extricate himself, declare victory, even though he gave Iran at least half of what they wanted, etc. Right? So now, if he doesn't do that deal, I'll tell you the different excuses that they'll have. But there's only one reason he wouldn't do that deal, and that's no, he is under the control of Israel. Israel doesn't want to end the war. So if the war doesn't end, it'll be double, quadruple proof that Israel doesn't have influence in America. It completely controls our government, right? When it comes to foreign policy.
Yeah. No, I'm of the mindset that we're already there, and that's clear in now the multiple instances in which Trump tried to wind down this war. I mean, the announcement of the 2-week ceasefire was immediately followed by Israel carpet bombing Lebanon in order to jeopardize whether the 2-week ceasefire would actually happen. Now, luckily, to some extent, the ceasefire did hold, however fragile it might be.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.